Some news over the weekend, and I want to get into this Ruben Bane car accident situation. Apparently, NFL teams have known about this, but Ruben Bane was involved in a accident in 2024 in which a person later died. What do you make of the story here? Because going through it, I mean, the charges ultimately were dropped. Bane was cited at the time of the incident, but ultimately nothing ended up coming about of it. The family of the person who ultimately died in the car accident, which was apparently a friend of Bane and a couple of Miami teammates, the family came out in a statement and said they wish Mr. Bane the best as he continues his life and career. It just sounds like, to me, this was a tragic accident. I'll read the full story here on ESPN. Bane was cited for careless driving for the accident that occurred about 4 a.m. local time on March 17, 2024 on Interstate 95 northbound in Miami, according to documents obtained by the Reed Optional. The crash report alleges Bane was driving a 2021 Land Rover SUV that had 3 other passengers, fellow Hurricane football players Wesley Bissain and Nikeji Kelly, along with 22-year-old Georgia woman Destiny Betts. Bane's vehicle rear-ended another car, veered into a concrete barrier, then ricocheted into another barrier before coming to a rest on the shoulder of the highway. Betts was taken to Ryder Trauma Center in Miami, according to the Reed Optional. The outlet reported that Betts was in a coma for nearly 3 months before she died from injuries on June 13th, 2024. So he was cited for reckless driving, but then the charges ultimately were dropped. Bane was entering his sophomore season at the time of the accident. Obviously, it's terrible that someone died in this accident, but again, there were no charges against Bane. So why this story is coming out now, it's unfortunate, but it almost feels like, oh, this is coming out now to try and kill his value so he drops to a different team. I hate to be cynical, but I don't know why else a story would come out 10 days before the draft of which Ruben Bane was not charged with any crime here. It just sounds like this was a terrible accident that unfortunately someone lost their life in.
Yeah, I mean, this is that time of year, Jake. I'm curious as to how much information these teams had pre-draft, like how much they had before this story went public, which it just did a few days ago or yesterday. So yeah, I mean, the one detail in the story that's a little bit weird, but it is what it is. They didn't administer a field sobriety test. That was not administered at the scene, I'm pretty sure.
Correct.
I don't know, what that means or what that doesn't mean. But 4 a.m. late. I'm not assuming the guy was drinking, by the way. I'm just saying they didn't administer the test, so it means the police officer had no intent to want to administer the test, or there was no reason for him to want to do it. So I don't know, man. Listen, I'm not drafting Bane because of a report like this. I
Doesn't it
always
feel like this is coming out though, specifically for him to start sliding, so he goes to a team that normally wouldn't have any chance to take him? And again, this wasn't even reported on like the Miami Herald, the local paper of record 2 years ago. So
and it was 2 years ago, also.
yeah, again, if this means that Ruben Bane starts to fall and he's there at 16 for the Jets, we can have that conversation. But it just doesn't sound like he's going to fall. Just because this story is out there. Again, he wasn't charged with anything.
Yeah. Listen, there's been a ton of stuff about Bane since, the combine, that it seems like whomever, is out there that wants to cover this guy is just putting out some negative stuff, or however he's being covered is being done in a negative way. I mean, I haven't really seen many positive things about Bane since the combine. Yeah, I mean, Jake, this is a dirty game, man. The NFL draft process it can get real dirty. We've seen it before, obviously, with stuff that's come out on players and people trying to talk about arm length with Bane, and now we're hearing this. This isn't really new, but there's always a few guys that get targeted. You never really know what the intentions are. Is it a team? Is it the Bengals at 10 that really want Ruben Bane that are, fueling this, or whomever they're, at 11, 12? I don't know, Jake, but yeah, the timing is interesting, isn't it? Someone was definitely waiting until this point in the year to release this, given that it happened 2 years ago, right? What's the coincidence? The timing happens 2 weeks before, or 11 days before the NFL draft. There's coordination for sure. You're talking about
someone wanted this out there. That is clear.
Definitely. It didn't come out, 3 months ago.
It comes out 10 days before the draft. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason for that.
I'm surprised it didn't come out, a few days before the draft. That's when we also get a few reports. Pretty sure the Baker Mayfield stuff came out around this time too. When he was
let's say this story causes teams to move him down on their board. All of a sudden, add some of the arm length concerns, depending on a guy that'd be an outlier if he goes in the first round with the length of his arms. If he's there at 16, let's say the Jets already took either Reese or Bailey at 2, would you take him at 16 based on what we know?
I'm taking Ruben Bane at 16. Yeah. Depending upon how this board falls, man, or how this draft plays out, you have to do things on the fly. If Ruben Bane's there at 16, unless Mekhi Lemon or Carnell Tate's also there at 16, you take Ruben Bane. You just double up on end. That definitely, I would take Ruben Bane in a heartbeat.
I would too. I just think there's too good a value at that point.
If the arm length stuff never came out, I might be talking about, Bailey versus Bane from my perspective as to who I'm kind of struggling with at 2 versus Reese. I wouldn't even have Reese in the picture if Ruben Bane, let's say, had 31.5-inch arms versus, sub 30. So, yeah. Bane would be a beast on this team, man. I don't know if he'd fit necessarily in the 3-4, but I'm starting to get away from that whole logic. Who fits in a 3-4? Why does it, what about with Anik Bari and Aaron Glenn's defense? I mean, you're drafting a guy that's going to be here for at least 5-6 years. I mean, things change. They're not even going to be running a 3-4 specifically. So whereas Bane doesn't necessarily fit a 3-4, I think in New York and what we need and the kind of culture I think that needs to be built here, you got to bring in tough SOBs like Ruben Bane. Nobody's more physical at the point of attack as a pass rusher in this draft than Ruben Bane is.
All right, Asmaniacs, listen up for a second. No matter what you're watching, whether it's New York sports or any game you didn't plan on caring about, there's no better way to stay locked in than with PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made simple. You're just picking more or less on player projections. That's it. No complicated lineups, no nonsense. Just you versus the numbers. And here's why I love it. Even if it's a game you normally wouldn't care about, once you got a lineup going, you're locked in. Every play matters, every drive matters, every at-bat matters. I've been mixing sports too. Maybe a little football, throwing some baseball, maybe some basketball, and now you've got action across the board all night, and PrizePicks makes it even better with features like early cash outs if your picks are hitting, the ability to mix multiple sports in one lineup, and you can even see what other people are playing and tail their picks. So if you haven't tried it yet, what are you doing? Download the PrizePicks app right now. Use code HMA. That's HMA, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, it's HMA on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. More draft news involving the Jets, Frankie. The Jets are set to have a top 30 visit with Indiana wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr. Let's play out the scenario where Cooper's on the board at number 16. If you're the Jets, your thoughts on drafting him 16th overall?
If the top 5 or the big 5, I call them, aren't there at 16, Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Tyson, Vega Ioane, and Kenyon Sadiq. If those guys aren't there,
you would take Sadiq over Cooper?
Yeah, I would. The only reason I would is because, and I like, believe it or not, I like Omar Cooper Jr. better as a wide receiver than I do Kenyon Sadiq purely as a tight end. I just think when you look at the wide receiver class next year and how in the NFL you can find ways to get in a wide receiver 2. There's a lot of ways to get wide receiver 2s on your team. You could do it via trade, free agency, next year's draft. Omar Cooper Jr. to me is not differentiated enough as a wide receiver that I feel comfortable taking him over a guy like Sadiq, that whereas, yes, he's not a traditional tight end, Kenyon Sadiq might be somebody that's changing the way that really, teams are able to guard against a tight end, and they have to really be cognizant of that 4.39 speed. And there's so many different ways you can use Sadiq. He's like a big slot. There's a reason Colston Loveland went as high as he did to Chicago last year and how they're using him. Tight ends are starting to become bigger wide receivers. And Kenyon Sadiq can block. I just feel like you can get more out of getting Kenyon Sadiq as your, tight end 2 or big slot in, which we need a slot receiver also, by the way, versus Omar Cooper Jr., who I really like, by the way. I was on him from day one about his skill. I said from Jump Street that he's better than Surratt in Indiana. It's not even close. But you can find a wide receiver too, Jake. Kenyon Sadiq, you're not going to find many tight ends built like him, able to block like he does with 4.39 speed, and he doesn't drop anything. You just have to scheme up Kenyon Sadiq open. If you scheme that kid up open, he'll be a game changer for you. Omar Cooper Jr. to me he's another wide receiver too that you can find. I don't know if next year or the year after you'll find guys in that archetype of a tight end like Kenyon Sadiq. It's just he's different in my opinion.
I like him. Yeah. I don't love him at 16 though. I get nervous with the Jets being able to find creative ways to utilize Sadiq with a 2 tight end offense.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Like if we had a better offensive coordinator, like if Kyle Shanahan or someone like that was our play caller and they wanted Kenyon Sadiq or Andy Reid takes him at 9, like I'd be like, yep, it'll probably be really good. I don't trust the Jets to be the team that's going to be able to utilize Sadiq and Mason Taylor at the same time.
Yeah, no, I agree to a degree there. I just with Sadiq, man, I'm just I love the upside. I just do. I'm looking at where we're going to be in 2-3 years as an offense, and you have Sadiq out there. It changes really a lot of the things it changes a lot of the things you can do. But Omar Cooper Jr. is really good. He's not at the top of this class, I'd say, but you have to combine him,
Oh my goodness. We cannot trust Tanky's opinion. Kaz told me Saturday at the Badlands part that Frankie told him that Price is the better running back than Love. Enjoy the dark. Oh my goodness.
Now look what you've done. No more protection from the ASMANIACs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, doing the show from the hole for the remainder of this appearance.
Unbelievable. Somebody get me out.
Lou, you're
sending me out
of the hole. I'm 19 minutes into the show. I need someone to talk to. I can't not.
Now I'm going through your comments now. Your fans are ruthless, man. They don't like me because I don't like Arvell Reese. Sorry.
Great. Well, hold on a second. Ladies and gentlemen, bail has been posted. Frank P.
Oh, there we go.
Respect Lou B, but Frankie, come on out. You're a free man.
Frank Love.
Freedom for Frankie V from Frank P. Unbelievable. We might need to start raising the prices of sending someone to the hole because people are just throwing around $50 like it's nothing these last couple of shows. And that's not the spirit of what it was supposed to be about. But unbelievable. God, I love this community. Anyway, Frank P says, respect Lou B, but Frankie, come on out. This is crazy. Absolute nuts. Now, are you aware how polarizing you become in this fan base, Frankie? Like, did you ever imagine that people would pay $50 to not hear you speak?
No, I also never imagined grown men taking offense to not liking a prospect so personally. Like if I say some bad things about Arvell Reese, oh my God. Like imagine that. Imagine you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s and you care about what I'm saying about Arvell Reese.
I did see Lou B talking off Kaz's ear though on Saturday. He was trying to get the Jets to draft Jeremiah Love through Kaz because Lou B is a Jeremiah Love truther, which I disagree with him on.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, I mean, when I was speaking, that was our first show. I said it on our show. I think it's possible that I might have Price above Love at a point. I don't. I thought he did it again.
Price might be the second running back off the board though.
Yeah, no, I think Price is fantastic. Price is a between the tackles runner, so Price is somebody that I just like as more of a traditional RB1. But Love, you can do so many things with, Love is Jahmyr Gibbs-ish. So Love is great, man. Love is a weapon by all, but by every stretch of your, the imagination there. So Price is underrated though. I think Price out of this draft, we've been talking about all these receivers and tight ends and running backs. Price is different.
Lou B goes, LOL, I tried. Good attempt, Lou. Good attempt. Rick Kent says, I'm in my 60s and I don't care a lick for anything Tanky says. Peter Castro says, Frankie, I dare you to say something negative about Love.
You want me to?
You got something?
Yeah, I don't think he's that strong between the tackles, given his frame. So don't expect Jonathan Taylor kind of output between the tackles.
JD says, Frankie is a Mike T level of controversial. You're getting the Tannenbaum label. Wow.
That's bad. I'm gonna have to slow down now.
I'm gonna defend Frankie to Rick Kent here. He goes, polarizing. Someone would have to like him for him to be polarizing. I like Frankie.
No question. Look, I always love to look at staffs and make the argument, hey, if you're getting your staff changed, you know what domino is next. It's you. Because they basically just cleared all the people around you. You're a first-year head coach. To have this sort of wholesale staff changes that we saw within the New York Jets, Jake, they're 0-8 kicking off this year. Aaron Glenn's gone. 0-8 might be generous. What's the winless number we're giving Glenn before he loses his job? Is 8 too many, or I got to drop it to like 6 or 7? I don't know.
I was going to say 4 or 5. I mean, think about it. They started 0-7 last year. If he starts 1-5 even, right? Who's to say he's not what Brian Callahan just went through with the Titans? Won 3 games that first year, then got off to a 1-5 start. So he was 4-19 when they fired him. I don't know if Woody wants to do that to that extent that Tennessee did, but I think we're kind of right around where that number would be. They need to get off to a decent start. And by decent, like, can you be 2-2 through 4?
Well, and not only that too, Jake, it's the look of the team. They could be 1-5. I don't know what the schedule is. We're going to see that next month. But if you're in a situation, right, where the Jets play, maybe it's Buffalo, New England, a couple other tough games, and they look like they belong, that's going to give Aaron Glenn more leeway than the games we watched in December where there was nothing to discuss. I know you have to do it. I know I have to do it. There was legitimately nothing to discuss as far as legitimate football because of the ass whoopings we were witnessing week after week after week. I would do my Sunday morning football show, Jake, 10 minutes from my apartment in New York City, Manhattan. I get to Brooklyn in about 12 minutes. So I'd get in the Uber at around 12:58. I'd put the phone on. I'd have the 4-box going on YouTube TV before I walk into my door and set it all up. The last month of the year, I walked into my apartment probably around 10 after 1, right? I'm still watching the games. Jet games are over.
Yeah.
No. They are over. The Miami game was over. The Jacksonville game was over. The New England game was over. If that's what you're seeing early in the year, bye-bye, right? Bye-bye.
Or they just keep them like they did Gase for that full year and let him just be the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, for the full organic tank. That's bye-bye, I guess, could be taken a variety of different ways, whether it's early, middle, or at the end of the year. But the point being is, after 2026, the Jets will have a new head coach.
Well, because to me, people are like, how many wins do they need, Jake, for Glenn to save his job? And obviously wins matter at the end of the day, but it's how they get to the win total that matters. Because Gase started 1-7 in 2019. Then he went 6-2 in the second half that year. The Jets won 7 games, but no one looked at Adam Gase. Oh, they figured something out. Like, it was a bunch of bad teams they beat, backup quarterbacks. So that's why I talked about the need to get off to a decent start. He might not survive, 1-5, and then they rally to win some games late, hurt their draft position, as we've seen countless times in Jet history. They need to be 2-2 through 4, 3-3 through 6. At least be relevant? Can you beat a division opponent early in the year? Can you look good when you face Robert Saleh and the Titans week 1, right? Like there's certain games early that the NFL
you're
can
already
schedule.
penciling in the Jets and the Titans week 1. I like where your head is at. I like
it's coming. But it's just like that's how I look at it from a fan perspective. Like it's not so much the win total that obviously matters, but how they play at the beginning of the year, especially. And that's why, they're leaning Bailey because, he might be able to get after the quarterback faster than Reese can in year 1. That's such a short-sighted way to approach it. And I hope that Darren Muji, the GM, who might have more leeway than the coach, if he doesn't believe that ultimately Bailey's going to be the better player than Arvell Reese, that shouldn't be the decision they make at 2.
No question. Your gut right now, Reese or Bailey? Not what you would do. What will they do?
I think they take Reese. I think a lot of this is smoke. The
The
betting odds have gone back and forth on this. Now Reese is back to being the favorite as of this morning.
I think it's legit coin flip. I wonder who ultimately is making the pick, but I'm with you. I think Reese will be the guy.
Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. End of our show today. Going to give away a signed Wayne Corbett helmet to anyone who enters our ASMANIAC raffle. Hojo with a super chat. He goes first. If we talk about Reese's Parsons potential, we should also recognize the potential of a Xavier Collins outcome. I just think Reese is better than like the Isaiah Simmons comp people have given. Like I think people don't talk enough about how special Reese already is as a linebacker. And when he was asked to rush the passer, he could do it. He just was playing a different role in an Ohio State defense that has 3 other guys that are going to go in the top 15. I just think like some of the comparisons for Reese saying he's Parsons may be too extreme, but then some saying he's Collins or some saying he's Isaiah Simmons. I think we go too crazy the other way too. Am I off on that?
No, I think that's completely spot on. And look, it's unfair that he's got to be compared to Micah Parsons, but I see Collins on your graphic. Simmons is the other one. Simmons just didn't have the full complement and full arsenal to go and make the transition at the next level. Reese does. You saw it at Ohio State. There's a reason why people were gushing over him basically the entirety of the college football season.
I'm right there with you. In terms of pick 16, there was a ton of debate on Ty Simpson. Doesn't feel like that's the direction the Jets are going to go. But at 16, they desperately need a receiver. Your team at 11, the Dolphins, they could be looking for a receiver. So now there's some buzz about the Jets potentially moving up for one of the wide receivers. Your thoughts just on the receiver class and then the Jets options at 16. What would you do if you're the New York Jets with that pick?
I'm out on Simpson. No, thank you. I'm not reaching on a quarterback. If they want to go and get a mid-round quarterback, be my guest. I do not think Ty Simpson is worthy of a first-round pick, and it sure seems like, Jake, we're in a direction where he's not going to be a first-rounder. Could be wrong on this. Guys come out of nowhere and make the move. I just don't really get a sense that a team is dying to take him in the back half of the first round. We shall see. I'd love to see the Jets go and get themselves another receiver. The guy that I think the best-case scenario would be is if you can go and get the Ohio State teammates, the lineage.
Cardell Tate.
A little Tate Garrett Wilson partnership. It would be a very Ohio State centric draft if you go and get Reese and you get Tate and you reunite him with Garrett Wilson and it's like, hey, Ohio State Jets. I think he's as safe as it gets.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.